Hello to you, my fellow Dark Ones. How are you guys doing today? How's life? Today what we're going to do is that we're going to try and make the ultimate ore processing system. Well, it's not going to be super ultimate, but it's going to be the best one that we can make. This used to be our ore processing system and now we just have to make it way more efficient. It was offline because it makes a lot of noises. Oh, and by the way, just a bit of a disclaimer, if you see weird things on me or in the world, they're for the next episode. We are basically doing some time traveling, therefore wait until the next one. For ore processing, obviously we are going to go with mechanism, we're going to make it super fast, and ore processing in mechanism requires a bit of fluids and gases. And therefore we're going to start with them first. So we have 3 thermal evaporation towers. They're not the maximum size, they're 12 blocks long, which is fine enough. It goes down here too. And in order to make them work a bit faster, we're going to try and use some resistive heaters. We just have to make sure that they're touching the valve, like that. I'm not really sure how the production is going to go, but we're going to go with 2500 RF. That should be plenty in order to increase the heat. 2 of the thermal evaporation towers are going to start making us brine, the fluid, and not the person. Yeah, it's already full. The final evaporation tower is going to be for lithium. Where does the brine come from? From the modern industrialization cube. Yeah, exactly. We're getting lithium. The reason that we need brine, the fluid, and not the person, is that we want to be able to put it inside an electrolytic separator like so, and we are going to get sodium and chlorine, and what we want is chlorine in order to make hydrogen chloride. You know, it's for ore quadrupling in the past. And since we want everything to work incredibly fast, what I have done is that I have increased the RF input on the resistive heater, now it's at 5000. Not for lithium, we don't need it that much. And I have added a bit more electrolytic separators, which we can add a bit more as well, and currently this is the rate that we're gaining chlorine. Is it good? Is it bad? I have no idea. Also, we're going to put the tanks on dumping excess, you know, so that the system doesn't clog up. Normally you would obviously not start with this, you would start with the other part of hydrogen chloride. Hydrogen. But I first wanted to know where to put the thermal evaporation towers, now we can move on to hydrogen and oxygen. Obviously, we're going to have more electrolytic separators. Instead of muting everything, I just automated the upgrade. Considering the resources that I'm consuming at this very moment, trust me, this is incredibly cheap. As usual, I decided to change the numbers again and we're going to go with 5 electrolytic separators, and we're getting tons of hydrogen. And if we come down here, that is our hydrogen chloride. So that is one of the things that we need for ore processing. The other one is sulfuric acid, and for that we're going to have chemical oxidizers. And to be very exact, 12 of them in total. We're gonna export sulfur, and we're just gonna copy and paste the settings on the export bus. And you know, a bit of acceleration cards. Because this is a relatively fast process, we want it to be full, always. Also, I was planning to use our applied energistic system in order to handle the logistics of gases and everything that we have from mechanism, but I don't think that's necessary. I'm just gonna go with quantum entangloporters. We're going to set this one to sulfur dioxide. Yeah, I think that's the one. That is all sulfur dioxide, and I know for a fact this is not gonna cut it. This used to be our main network, I converted it into a sub-network, and we're going to have 12 more chemical oxidizers. Why not? It's just that placing them symmetrically is a pain. Yeah, this works fine. Also, I did place every single one of them back to front, so that one is the mirror of this one. So if we copy the settings, that should work fine. Yeah, the tube connects. And this one is mirroring that one. That is 24 chemical oxidizers, and yeah, it's better. We might need more, I'm not sure. But that is sulfur dioxide, we need to get sulfuric acid. The sulfur dioxide that we are making using these 24 chemical oxidizers, which I still don't think it's going to be enough, goes down here, and we are using a disproportionate number of chemical infusers in order to infuse it with oxygen, and that gives us sulfur trioxide. Which again, comes up here. Another disproportionate number of chemical infusers are making us sulfuric acid. That's what we need. The reason that I'm saying sulfur dioxide is not enough is because we have a backlog. Oh my goodness, it's the wrong one. Yes, ignore the boo-boo, it might be enough. So the reason that I'm never sure that it's enough or not is because that, well, we are not doing the ore processing yet. And if you guys remember, we do have 2 quarries in the mining dimension which are going a bit crazy and they're generating us tons of resources. And even though both of them are silk touch, I have no idea where this raw copper came from. Or all the other raw stuff. But we will look into that later on. We need to process these first using applied energistics. This is our old system, I tore it down, now we have a fancier system. There are 20 sets of Me active formation planes and annihilation planes. And you might notice the annihilation planes have fortune 9, so that's the best fortune that I can get. This time we're not going to go with sophisticated storage, we have plenty of resources, we're just going to go with applied energistics. You know, for storing the ores, and well, this is a 1 million mega item storage cell. 9 more are being crafted, well, a bit less. System works fast. So what we're going to do is that we're just going to import everything into a sub-network. Yeah, stuff are going in. Perfect. And just to be able to read what we have in that system, we're just gonna have a terminal. Garbage one will do. I should have probably gone with void cells. It's okay, we can export them into a trash. Actually, for my sanity's sake, let's go with a void cell. Yeah, exactly. This guy over here. Oh, it does say it needs partitioning before using. Previously, it was just saying that, hey, if you're using it, know what you're doing. Gaze into my eyes. I know what I'm doing. 0.5% of the time. You know, oh, there's a portable cell workbench. Well, we don't need it to be portable. I'm just gonna use it once. So if we put the void cell inside the cell workbench, what is going to happen is that we can tell it to void some of the items. For example, I don't want grass. I don't want salt. Seriously, I don't want antimony. Definitely deep slate. And we just add it to our cell. So everything should go here. Let me figure out what else I don't want. I have a list here. Okay, so I have filtered out everything that I don't need. We're going to have an extra drive on the same network, higher priority, and the void cell goes inside. That's our trash can. So now if I put the dimensional chest back on top, those items should be voided, right? Well, we do have a bit in our system, but we shouldn't get any more. Well, if you do this, they will go away anyways. You know, take them out, put them back in. Yeah, we are also getting new ores. Okay. It does work, because some of that is also going into these barrels. This is why we're not getting them that fast. So now, every single ore that we want to process, we're just going to make a filter for it on the formation plane, which is going to take a bit of time, so I'll be right back. I connected the annihilation planes as well, and our ore processing is functioning magnificently. However, it was incredibly loud, so I had to turn down the sound. Also, I do feel that the system is lagging a bit. Maybe it needs more power? Yeah, that was the problem. It's too many machines and it's just one controller. So one of the things that you might notice is that, yeah, we're getting a ton of ores and it's fine. Some things like emerald, diamonds, or even redstone don't have to be further processed. They can go into our main network. So let us get ourselves a dimensional chest. And we are just going to export them using an export bus, obviously. Actually, that is our main network, right? Let's not do that. It's like highly stupid to export something then import it back. We just put it inside an interface into our main network. Yeah, that should take care of everything which doesn't require any further processing. I don't really care about ancient debris. But now we come to some ores that I don't really care about them that much, but I also don't want to waste them. So obviously we're just going to cook them. So we have aluminium, we have zirconium, we are going to have uranium, zinc, gold, and uranite. They're just going to go inside an all-the-modium furnace and we cook them. That's it. Easy peasy. So now, let's get like 2 master infusion stones. Why not? Why did I get an extra one? I don't know. But we put them in the system and we also need a quantum crafter. I am getting a ton of inferium here and I don't really want to waste it. Again, it's something totally not necessary. So we're going to have a pattern for inferium blocks, then prudentium blocks, and you guys get the gist. We will go as high as insanium. That goes inside the quantum crafter and we shall enable it. It's crafting, right? Yeah. I think we need more master infusion stones. It will work faster, right? We got our first insanium, which we are going to export it back into our system. So with everything that we have done so far, we have taken care of every single ore except 2, copper and iron. Those are the 2 ores that we're going to try and fix using mechanism, so let's try to assemble something. Okay, we're going to start with 2 sets and the design that we're going to go with is subject to changes. But as I have already mentioned, there is an add-on to mechanism called Mechanism More Machines and it does provide you with the ultimate dissolving factory. So instead of doing 1 recipe, it does 9. So I think on our sub-network, we can have a quantum entangloporter. We're going to set it to sulfuric acid with a storage bus. Not sure if it's gonna work. But that's going to be input and output to the storage bus. But the storage bus is going to be on extract only. So now the question is, do we have sulfuric acid? Yes. We're going to export that sulfuric acid together with, I don't know, we go with copper first. Also, just in case you're wondering why we have so many of them, I was AFK for half an hour or an hour. I'm not really sure, I didn't pay attention, but copper, one for iron. We're going to put it on auto sort like so, and take items as well as gases from the bottom. Are we getting gases? Maybe a bit of acceleration cards because everything is very slow? Yeah, now it's functioning. Wait, what happened to power? Ooh, yeah, I accidentally disconnected everything, but that is dirty copper slurry as well as the iron, right? Perfect. We obviously need to send them to a chemical washer. Again, this is from the same mod, this is why we have the ultimate version of them. We need to provide those machines with water, so let's get an infinity water cell. That means we can also pump in the water using our sub-network. The infinity water cell is actually way cheaper than, I don't know, the one from EvilCraft. I upgraded everything, and fun fact of the day, A2 cannot pump in the water fast enough. So I'm using the infinite water sources from EvilCraft. Also, how much power are you... What? 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 Okay, that's 18,000. That was 4 million? Yes, hi. How would you power it? Well, I'm using a flux point, bypassing limit. That should help. Oh, and most importantly, never forget the chemical upgrade. That will make it so that it consumes way less sulfuric acid. But now we have the clean copper slurry, we need to convert it into something else. Yes, chemical crystallizer. It's weird, I actually have them in order. Let's make a bunch. Also, it does seem that we're going to need way more mechanism upgrades. Like way more. After the crystallizing factory, which we get the copper crystal or the iron crystal, what we need is an ultimate injecting factory, which does require the hydrogen chloride. And after that, we're going to need a purifying factory with oxygen, a crushing factory, enrichment, and then smelting. So the rate that we're getting copper is not that bad, but we need to make it way better. Because one of the things that you might notice is that our dissolving factory has 9 tanks, we're only using 1 of them. Well, 2 if you count this one as well. So the problem actually starts after the washing factory where you have to crystallize everything. It's a bit slow, and since every machine after that you're just going to get more shards and dust and etc. Well, we need either more machines or we need a warden. I think what Soul Surge does is that it is going to increase the speed of machines by almost 5 times. So let's see if it makes any difference. That makes a huge difference. We might even have to upgrade the furnace. We actually have to upgrade the furnace. Or we can Soul Surge the furnace, but let's wait on that. We also need an extra one for the crystallizer, yeah? Now we're using the copper slurry. All the modium furnaces are not actually that great, but let's see how it goes. They do bug out, is the problem, when they're working so fast. So now the rate that we're getting copper has been increased. Way more. But even though we have the chemical upgrade in the machines, our hydrogen chloride, is it rising, is it falling? Seems to be constant. Oh, it's dropping. Wow. Sulfuric acid? That's not dropping. No, it's always the same number. So you might think this was a very wise choice, but it wasn't. I have installed a few ME throughput monitors, and this is the rate that we're getting copper. I know green wasn't the best choice, but it's fluctuating between 360 to 390. If you watch the next episode, remember, we're time traveling, which in that episode I'm actually using that copper. You might notice that I have actually dropped my production of copper by 10% or even 20%. I think my original rule was correct. You can either get the resources incredibly fast or you can get the best yield. You can't have both, without lagging obviously. But don't you worry, there's always a solution, so we're getting copper incredibly fast, right? Even though we are processing it incredibly fast, it's also increasing. So what we're going to do is that we're going to try and use a bit of modern industrialization, the processing array, and yeah, we're going to have 2 of them, obviously. Asymmetry purposes. So let's get some good energy hatches. We're going to go with EV. Why did I get 3? I'm misclicking. Well, we throw the extra one out. We don't need that. That will apparently go anywhere in the front, like so. We also need decent hatches, so we go with turbo, which we don't have. And make patterns. Turbo hatches have been set. We also need 2 stacks of macerators, which we can craft. So these processing arrays are not going to work instead of like 64 macerators, 128 at the same time. Copper is now going in, and if we give you some power, very good. What? Oh, it's full. Well, for that we're going to take the oldemodium furnaces. So this machine should start pulverizing the raw copper ore, and it's incredibly fast. Faster than the furnace. Now we're producing 580 copper per second. It also gives you a slight yield of like 50% or something. And sometimes a better furnace actually provides you with a negative result. I upgraded the furnace to vibranium, it's now doing worse. With both of the machines working, we are now at 700 and almost 80 copper per second. Well, obviously the copper ore is not gonna keep up. Yeah, it's finally dropping. It's okay, don't you worry about that. As for our ore quintupling using mechanism, what I have done is that I have added a few bees. Some of them are iron and some of them are copper. Over here. Because when you centrifuge a copper cone block or an iron cone block, you just get the raw ore. I have also added uranium to the mix. We need a teeny tiny bit more if we want to make fissile fuel, which we actually have to. Okay, ignore that one. And talking about fissile fuel, we ran into a bit of a problem. We lost almost 800,000 sulfur. Since we have this setup over here with the soul surges, I think I have a good idea. We just need a few PRCs. That's it. I did mention that in order to handle the logistics of gases from mechanism, I'm just going to use quantum entangler porters, but PRCs are a jerk. They need like 50 million inputs and 50 million outputs. And you have 6 sides. So let us have a storage bus on the quantum entangler porters. One of them is going to be for hydrogen insert only. And obviously it's going to have a higher priority. And the other one is going to be for oxygen, and now I think we should be able to hook up everything to our applied energistic system. There's also an import bus on the chemical tanks. Yeah, exactly. Now we are banking the oxygen and hydrogen in our network, and we are also providing it to the quantum entangler porters. You know, I'll be very honest with you, I have been making pressurized reaction chambers or PRCs for a very long time, and this was the easiest one. So we are importing oxygen into our network, we have water in our network, we have coal in our network, and therefore if we put all of them inside a PRC, we're going to get sulfur and hydrogen. We're just doing it from literally one side, using an import-export bus. And of course I'm soul surging everything, otherwise it's not that fast, and if you want to look at the result, it's actually rising. Yeah, it's at a decent rate. Also what we are doing is that I'm using lignite coal. Otherwise there is a better recipe using a block of coal. But I have so much lignite, I don't have a use for it. Look. And if automating PRCs is going to be that easy, why don't we also focus on HDPE? I need that later on for a few stuff. Oh. Mecha suit. I remember I needed that for other things as well. Yeah, that one. Just ignore the fact that I don't have polonium. How do you make HDPE? It's been a while. You know, probably this is the weirdest way that I have ever automated HDPE, but it's kind of fun. It's now on auto crafting. So I have a PRC, I have a pattern for substrate. Obviously, as a byproduct of substrate, what we're going to get is ethylene, or whatever it is called in this version. Ethene? Yeah, ethene. Then I have a rotary condensator, taking that ethene and converting it into a fluid. And of course we have another PRC which is taking in the substrate and the liquid ethene, and it's giving us the HDPE. I already have an enrichment factory, so making the plates is not going to be a big deal. But I have already ordered 1,000 and 100. It works really fine and weird. Because normally you would make this passively, right? But in any case, now that we have taken care of everything, let's also take care of fissile fuel. That is going to be problematic, I think, because I don't really remember how to do that. So the mechanism add-on, more machines, is actually going to make this super easy. I made myself an ultimate dissolving factory, I'm exporting blocks of fluoride, and we're mixing it with sulfuric acid, and as a result, we're getting hydrofluoric acid, right? I have a few enrichment factories, we're making yellow cake, and in the back we have chemical oxidizers, which are taking that yellow cake and they're giving us uranium oxide. So I think I need like one chemical infuser. You know, like so, it will get the uranium oxide and we just need to pump in the hydrofluoric acid. So something like this should work. Yeah, that's uranium hexafluoride. I think each chemical infuser is going to give us 256 millibuckets of uranium hexafluoride, so let's have 2 of them. That should be half a liter per second or per tick. I actually think it's per tick. Yeah, that's per tick. It's full. Oops. Each one gives you 512 millibuckets. It's okay, 1 bucket of that per tick doesn't really bother me that much. Besides, we are going to have a buffer, we're not going to make this continuously. We also need a centrifuge. But there's an ultimate centrifuge. Honestly, we're never ever going to make that much fissile fuel. Because eventually I want to go with bees, and we don't need that much antimatter, I suppose. We just go with the basic centrifuge. I made the basic centrifuge, and yeah, that's a huge overkill, and it does consume almost 1 million RF per tick. With all the upgrades, obviously. And at this very moment, I just have a 64K ME chemical storage cell, which is holding the fissile fuel. It's on a subnetwork. Later on, we will use it for the reactor. Don't you worry, we will not eat it. No. So I guess our automations over here are done. The only thing remaining is lithium. Yeah, I made the rotary condensator. What do we do? Crystallizer. Yes. I don't know, a garbage one will do. How much lithium do we need? Yeah, we just export it into our system with a dimensional chest. You know, I would have made the reactor over here as well. The problem is that we need to have access to the sun, which is ironic. Perks of having lithium finally is that I can make myself an atomic disassembler. I really wanted that for a very long time, and for some reason it required an induction cell. It's a very handy tool. Makes me happy. Makes it so that you carry less garbage. One of them is unused. It's you. I also decided to give myself a bit of an upgrade on my armor, just in case. But just a bit of an explanation, there is a future episode which was recorded before this episode, and there could be another episode before that future past episode. I made it more confusing. There is an episode I ran into a few problems and I realized if I want to fix them, that episode is going to be 5 hours. So we're having some episodes before that. I actually forgot to mention, but yeah, the main reason that I mentioned this is that all of your graves have been fixed in a past episode, which could be in the future. So I couldn't really do them today, because I control like 80% of my base. It's actually quite simple, right? No, but with that, ladies and gentlemen, I think it's also a good time to wrap up the episode. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. Till the next one, or the previous one, bye bye.